Twitter, yeah. I have pulled back from Twitter. I really stopped watching the news 25 years ago, although I've been heavily involved in it the last 2 years.
After 18 years, this is my final Fox News Sunday.
I'll show myself out until we meet again.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 Most of what passed for news wasn't. Because my sense was, well, if it isn't important in a month, if it isn't important a month from now, it was never important. And almost everything that's news is like important right now.
Yeah.
And so I tried to stay away from that. It was better for my peace of mind. And I often recommended to my clinical clients who were depressed and anxious that they shield themselves from the news as much as possible. But now the news is everywhere, right? It's everywhere. It's Twitter, it's Facebook, it's YouTube. It's like we're just inundated by it. It's like CNN on steroids. It's 24-hour news cycle, and it's produced by everyone, whether they're informed or not, and it's really high emotion. And I think that is making things look a lot worse to us than they actually are. You know, like, because I don't even know what my ethical obligation is to my Twitter followers, you know, because like there's a million people following me.
You can't
so
react to all of them.
No, definitely. Well, certainly I know one limitation, which is that having it drive me insane is probably not a good outcome for anyone, except for those who hope that I would crawl back under my rock, let's say. You know, I mean, we thought, when I was a kid, we thought, oh my God, you know, kids are sitting in front of the television 4 hours a night. It's like, well, you ain't seen nothing yet. Yeah, and the phones are so much more powerful than television that it's like a typewriter compared to a computer, you know. And yeah, it's so we don't know how to adjust to that psychologically, but it's even worse than that, because as soon as you adjust to the degree that you do, the technology changes on you. So it's a real, I mean, you know, I see this especially with parents who have teenage kids. It's like they know the phones aren't, you know, I've been talking to some teenagers lately about you know, maybe these are kids that are getting bullied on social media. It's like, I think, well, when I was 14, you know, it's kind of a rough time of life, and you go to school and you've got your friends and you've got your enemies, and then you come home and your friends aren't there and neither are your enemies. Right? You're outside. There's an outside of that.
Yeah.
But now on social media, there's no outside. You know, and the one kid I was talking to had moved schools and is doing quite well in the new one. But the people from the person's old school are still after them on social media. So, you know, and you think, well, just don't use your phone. It's like, yeah, you tell that to your teenager. You try not using your phone for a whole day.
Yeah.
You think, well, the teenager's going to be able to manage the phone. It's like, no, they're not. You can't manage the phone. Nobody can manage the phone. Well, and they are mastering the technology.
Yes.
That's the other thing. It's not surprising that they're trying to adapt to it. But if you give your kid a phone and you don't think they'll know how to use the phone better than you within a year, you're a fool.
It's true.
You know, they're gonna have that thing figured out in ways that you haven't even imagined. So you're not controlling it. That's for sure. Well, have you been watching the Boston Dynamics videos?
Yes.
Oh my God. I mean, the amount of progress they've made in 5 years is just absolutely staggering. You know about what's his name, Kurzweil's idea, the singularity. You know, it's a wild idea, and it seems somewhat improbable. And I had a friend who once told me that if something's impossible, then it won't happen. You know, there'll be something that will come up to stop it that you won't expect. And maybe the singularity is one of those things. But, you know, I know a lot of guys who are in the high-end computational world, and a lot of them are convinced that we're within a decade of a machine that's as powerful as a human brain. And I know people have been saying that for a long time, but Jesus, you know, computers are getting good at emotion recognition. They're getting really good at facial recognition. They can communicate with one another. They can imitate. Those Boston Dynamic robots are pretty damn impressive, and they're mostly autonomous. We've got all sorts of things that can navigate on their own, like these autonomous cars. Like, all these things they're coming together real fast.
Have you ever watched Black Mirror on Netflix?
The only one I watched was the one that outlined what the Chinese are now doing to their own people.
Oh, yeah, the CRISPR one.
Yeah. No, the one where everything you do is rated and tracked.
Oh, right, the social network one. Right.
Yes, which is